Welcome to the Franchising 360 Show, the only show that takes you inside the world of franchising, with hosts Tim Parmeter and Danielle Wright.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 Show. I am Tim Parmeter, alongside Danielle Wright.
That's me.
Here on the Franchising 360 Show every week, we are taking a 360-degree view of the franchising industry. We're going to help educate you on things that you need to know to determine if you should become a franchise owner. If so, which is the best franchise for you, how to succeed once you are an owner, as well as looking at how to take an existing business and turn it into a franchise. Today, we've got a guest coming on, a return guest, which is always kind of cool, to talk about not just one, but 7 different possible franchise brands. So looking forward to chatting about that here in a little bit.
Yeah, they're not what you would think they are.
And it's a whole, like we talk about verticals and industries or what have you, we never really talk about the customer base. So I think it was interesting. I had good questions.
Yes, so definitely excited about that. What do we have for our franchise fun facts?
The world's kind of like topsy-turvy right now.
Okay.
We've got high gas prices and all of those things. So the question today kind of goes to what's the impact that franchising has on the overall economic environment in the U.S. So you ready?
Yes.
Got your economics
Yes.
brain on?
Yes.
Okay. So what does franchising actually contribute to the bigger economy picture, like the gross domestic product?
$1 billion.
No.
What?
Oh, we got no. Yay. We'd gotten a couple of yeses
know.
and you knew the answers. I was like, yay. Okay. Franchise businesses contribute an estimated $558 million to the U.S. gross domestic product.
Pretty crazy how big franchising really is, and how many things that are out there that are franchises that people don't realize that are.
Right. And wait for it. That's nearly 3% of the American economy. Just 3.
Right.
3%. $558 billion. That's a B.
And our guest today is going to talk about some of the things that are franchises.
I seem to be doing well with these facts.
It's almost like you're planning, which is pretty impressive.
Don't ever do that,
No.
please.
Accidental.
Yes.
But how much of that money is coming from things you just have no clue exist or what they are? Our guest here coming on in a minute is going to talk about some brands that fit into that category here on the Franchising 360 Show. All right, folks, we are back on the Franchising 360 Show. Tim Parmeter alongside a very close Danielle Wright. And she's next to me because we have a guest. And joining us is our good friend, Mr. John Dobelbower, who is we always have fancy titles in franchising, the Senior Vice President of Growth and Development for Eversmith Brands. John, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Great seeing you.
Welcome
Happy
to the
be here.
table.
And such a good time. Last season, you've come back for season 2.
You can't get rid of me.
Well, we weren't trying just yet. We'll see how it goes here in the next 20 minutes or so. But thanks for joining us. Different logo on your shirt a little bit. Excited to hear all about Eversmith Brands. So give us a little scoop, man.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate the fact that you figured out that I changed the jersey. But I'll tell you why I did. I changed the jersey because I really love sort of the platform space. I come from a B2B background in franchising. All of the brands in Eversmith are B2B platform based companies, right? And so I saw this opportunity. It's like, hey, I can go and be in the B2B space, but I can have cross-branded services that are available to all these different franchisees, be able to help scale that. And so just super excited to be here and looking forward to continuing to grow.
What's a platform?
So a platform, a collection of companies. Think like an umbrella, if you will. So Eversmith has 7 different companies up underneath it. Some brands that you would probably know by heart, right? US Lawns. There's the Canadian version of US Lawns, I like to call it, Clintar. They may take some offense to that. It's a completely separate brand, right? But they do the same thing. It's commercial landscaping. We also have a brand called Millicare that does, floor cleaning and that sort of thing.
Okay.
We have 2 kitchen-based concepts. So Kitchen Guard, the seals. We have a restoration company, specialty restoration company called Prism, and then newest acquisition, One Tom Plumbing. And so you put all those things together, all in the B2B space. There's, again, the ability to go through and share services and figure out how to go.
What? I know that look is always like, what do you got? I'm like,
No,
I'm just here.
He mentioned One Tom Plumbing, and we were at a conference recently, and you were very excited about their
Oh,
product.
yeah. I have a little poo emoji, squeeze stress ball that's pink.
Yes.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I literally, out of all of the booths, I went back to that one. They were also giving away pink plungers. Felt like that wasn't going to go in my suitcase all that well, but the squeezy stress ball is great. Love it.
I absolutely love that brand. Their branding is so on point.
Oh, yeah.
You think about plumbing, right? And it's kind of like the crappiest brand out there, if you will.
No pun.
No pun intended. But if you think about it, it's like, hey, why are people driven to that branding?
Yeah.
I think ultimately the person that makes the decision typically is going to be the wife. If you're talking about like a residential concept, it's going to be the wife that's picking up the phone. And so they recognize that and they said, hey, let's make everything pink. Let's brand it pink. Then they really got heavy into the commercial space.
Okay.
And so ultimately they came in, they said, well, look, if we have a big burly plumbing guy, right, but he shows up with a pink plunger and a little pink poop emoji, someone's going to remember that, and then they're going to give us a call, right?
Yeah.
One Tom Plumber, the name of the brand is the phone number, right? So everything kind of just ties back to, hey, how do we stay in front of the customer, the consumer, whether it is a business consumer or a residential consumer, how do we stay in front of that relationship to make sure that we're constantly growing the brand, constantly growing the franchisees, brands, and kind of going from there.
So question, you've got B2C and
Mhm.
B2B, kind of explain to the viewers what the difference is.
Mhm.
And then my secondary question to that is, how hard, or is it harder to get those types of clients on the B2B level, because you're now business to business, like you're competing with a smaller, different group of people. It's not, hey, I've now got a backed up toilet, I need someone to fix my plumbing, I don't care who it is. It's now a relationship on that side. So explain B2B and B2C, and then what they do to kind of make sure they stand out.
Well, so the thing I love about B2B is that ultimately decisions are made based off of a predetermined budget. People understand, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to have these issues come up. They budget for that in advance.
Okay.
And so now it's more, how do I go through and create the relationship?
Okay.
So in the case of One Tom, I show up with the pink plunger, right? I tell some jokes, I have some fun, and I build a relationship. But the same thing is true across really all B2B franchises. It's all about the relationship that's been able to be driven by the franchisee themselves. Okay. I understand some franchise owners, right? They're not natural salespeople, so you may go and hire a salesperson, but it's wildly different than a B2C concept, right? B2C concept, it's, hey, I got to be number one on Google. I got to do all these different things. So I actually see that the marketing expense can be less in a B2B business. You need less customers. Typically, those customers are larger. You're not dealing with all the Karens of the world, right? You're not dealing with all the different issues that come up that are surrounded with people's personal nuances. And so that's what really sort of attracted me to the B2B space.
Gotcha. Okay.
So talk about that then from as an owner, and again, I'm sure it's different for each of these brands, but either the owner or they're going to hire somebody that is really out kind of being able to build those long-term relationships with those business clients, right?
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately the owner really has like 3 jobs in franchising. Okay. And by the way, none of them have to do with any of the technical aspects of the business, right? It's not like putting seal.
As a preface, we've all known each other a long time. We've all been in franchising a long time. So, yeah.
But, at the end of the day, franchise owners really should be able to follow a proven marketing plan and a proven sales plan when it comes to B2B service offerings, right? So that's number one. Number two is the ability to lead, inspire, motivate, manage, encourage team members. You got to be the type of person that people want to work for and with. That's table stakes. And then number three is you have to have a firm understanding of the numbers. And that doesn't mean that you need to be a CPA or have a finance background or anything like that. It just means that you need to be coachable with KPIs. And so those are the things that we look for in our franchise owners. We believe that those franchise owners that possess those abilities, right, they're the ones that are going to forge a relationship at the local level. A lot of times we're asked, hey, these brands are so great. Why don't you just go and launch them corporately? Why? Because I need a franchise owner there to build that relationship at the local level.
And that literal and figurative ownership is going to create the growth faster, right? Because the owner is going to care about it and work harder than any employee that you or anybody else would ever hire.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I always think about it kind of like your baby, right? It's like, hey, my baby may be ugly, but it's my baby. And so it's one of those things where, like, as you scale and as you grow, no one's going to care about that more than you. But I think as you do that and you build systems in franchising as opposed to trying to build it around yourself, ultimately you can get to a point where, hey, I can step away from the business. I can do all those things that people dream about whenever they go and start a business. The only way you can get there, though, is to have the right systems in place.
So Eversmith has got all of these brands. I will ask you to name all of them again if we didn't name them. And they kind of sit in this sector. So are they going to acquire more? Are they going to do more? Are you going to sit really in the B2B space? Are you going to tag over here a little bit?
I think we're firmly rooted in trying to be in the B2B space,
Okay.
Because ultimately we can use the strengths of one brand to strengthen another brand,
Okay.
right? And so I think that just makes sense from a platform perspective. But to answer your first question, yeah, I don't think we have any plans of stopping.
Okay.
We want to go through, we want to essentially own that business relationship, that commercial facility customer. We want to be able to do everything at some point.
Got it.
And I think the only way you can do that is by bringing on top quality brands.
Well, let's see how they can do that in the next segment, right?
Yes, and maybe we'll know what brands are coming next. Who knows what is set for us right after this here on the Franchising 360 show. Hey, we're back on the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright and our pal John Dobelbower from Eversmith Brands. And we talked a little bit about how these brands are all B2B components from this. Talk a little bit about which one of these is your favorite. It's like naming your favorite child.
Oh my God. Well, so I have to be as agnostic as possible. Okay. But I will say this, there are certain things to love about each one of these brands. If you look at the seals, for example, right? It's a relatively simple business model.
Hold on, we're not talking about seals like Navy going and killing people, right?
Or the little...
Or the
animals.
ones that make noises
Right.
that I could imitate
So
right now.
what does this... Because that's
I'm
one...
sorry, he said seals, and I was like, what seals is he talking
U.S.
about?
Lawns, plumbing, we can probably get a handle on
Yeah.
what that is. But seals is not something that anybody's going to think of. What the heck is this?
Right.
Yeah. So, somebody told me a long time ago that the riches are in the niches, and I figured it out with the seals. Okay. So the seals, what they do is like refrigeration gasket replacement services for commercial kitchens. Now, you would be shocked at how often those seals actually need replacement. If you think about it, a commercial kitchen, you have to legally go through, clean everything every single day. The chemicals that they put on those rubber gaskets just destroys the rubber gaskets. We're the guys that come in and replace those, but we do that very consistently, right? And so my point though is like you go and you look at a brand like that, it's incredibly niche. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, this serves the need of the customer, right? The customer is actively looking for this service and it's a repeating, recurring service. That's fantastic, right? I love that about that brand. We talked about one time before. I love the fact of how they're going about branding, right? You talk about U.S. Lawns and the legacy that they've had there. Yeah. It's been around for a minute, right? You talk about Clintar, it's been around for 40 years. So it's such an impossible question to answer is like, which one's my favorite? Because I have favorite aspects of every single one of them.
Yeah, but he said the seals first, so you know what that means.
Well,
right?
and I think we're aligned. I kind of like it too.
I know.
It's just different, and sometimes difference great. There are struggles with being different because then you have to educate. Because you said a bunch of words like gasket and stuff. Like I know, but like what's that? And when we take seals, I'm like, think around the thing around your refrigerator. If it doesn't latch, it's not staying cold, and then everything in the refrigerator is going bad. So I like had to dumb it down for myself.
But that's part of the point of the B2B space is as a consumer, as a homeowner, or whatever. Maybe I do these things. Maybe I pay attention to it or not. If that refrigerator isn't cold and you just lost all of your product, then you've spent that money. Now you're not able to sell whatever that is. Or if it's anything, is something cleaned properly? Does our landscape look good? In my house, maybe I want to be a slob and I don't care, but in the business, nobody's going to come to my business in those situations.
Yeah, no, 100%. And on top of that, it's not just, hey, I need to make sure that I'm preserving the food, right? And make sure that everything stays cold. There's also the fact that the food inspector can show up. He can say, hey, this is an issue. The same thing with Kitchen Guard. Kitchen Guard, they do like commercial hood vent cleaning and filter replacement, things like that, right? You have to get that done legally on a very regular cadence, right? To stay up to fire code. And so things that, I don't know the last time you probably cleaned your vent hood at home. If you ask me, it's been exactly 0 times, right? But
your wife probably knows. You two just probably don't know. It's fine.
But in commercial kitchens, like, hey, we know this because it's a big, huge part of our business. And I hear it makes the food taste better. Everything becomes a better experience for the people that are attending the restaurant. That leads to recurring revenue for the restaurant owner. It becomes like a self-fulfilling flywheel prophecy, if you will. So,
how much do you need owners? And I think this sometimes is a misconception in franchising. I don't know anything about these seals you're talking about. I don't know anything about plumbing or like a kitchen hood or vent or whatever. How much do I need to know as a potential owner, and how much do I need to be doing once I am an owner?
Oh my God! So. I hope and pray that you're not the guy out on the tools, right? Okay. Because here's the reality. You need to be working on the business and not necessarily in the business. And I think there's so many mom and pop type organizations. If you go look at the competitors in our space, highly fragmented. You have a bunch of mom and pop people, and they have a technical skill, which, by the way, the technical skill is super simple. It's like, do you know that righty is tighty and lefty is loosey? You can probably figure it out. So it's not that it's like overly technical, any of our brands, but I don't want you to focus on those things anyways. I want you to focus on the 3 things that we talked about, right? Follow a proven marketing and sales plan, lead, inspire, motivate, manage, and encourage team members, and understand what your numbers are. Those are the 3 ways that you actually grow a significant franchise.
So Eversmith being as large as it is and going to probably acquire more brands, how are they doing that? Like, where's that money come from?
It comes from private equity sponsors. Okay. And so I know, a lot of people, when they hear the word private equity, it's like a dirty word. Yeah. I actually love...
Dirty 2 words, actually. Yeah, but go ahead.
I actually love private equity sponsorship, though, in the franchising space. Because if you think about it, most of these franchise agreements are going to be 10-year agreements.
Yes.
If you look at the average private equity hold, it's going to be 5 to 7 years, right? So contractually, it's not like the private equity firm can come in and change a royalty rate. They can't change the structure. What they must do is go through and invest at the unit level. That's a good thing for the franchisees, right? Because the top line goes up. Guess what? The royalty collection goes up. It drives enterprise value for the private equity firm. Everybody wins. Yep. And so I think that's why like 80% of franchise brands now are owned by private equity firms. Yeah. It's because they see that. They see that, hey, we can invest into kind of the local business, but actually do that at a huge scale, and the local business owner wins. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Right. As a franchise owner, you're not going to go, no, don't invest more money to help me make more money or be more efficient or anything like that.
And I think it's just the absence of understanding, right? No one's out there explaining it. They see big dollars, and they see on a larger scale from media that when things like this come in, it disrupts the organism, right? People lose their jobs, bad things happen, and it just causes
I
a
was
lot
thinking
of
the corporate
struggles.
acquisition thing. You got a job. Well, somebody just bought the company that I
Yes.
work for, and now like people are going to be out jobs.
But that
versus,
does happen.
It does happen.
It
all
does
the time.
happen.
But in the franchise standpoint, it tends to be more like, hey, no, we're coming in to increase what's going on versus start cutting
I
everything.
mean, that's why John's at Eversmith, right?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, and
Thanks.
yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of private equity experience. I've worked with multiple private equity backers to these different franchise brands, and they all have different flavors, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's really a commitment to the brand. How are they going through and supporting the brand or brands in this case? Because ultimately that same level of support filters down to the franchisee, right? And look, like private equity guys are capitalists. They want to make
make money.
Right. They want to make as much money as they can.
And if they're not helping you to make money, then they made a bad investment.
100%. 100%. It's like it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yep.
And so
But they're not there to be your bestie either, right? Like
Right.
the franchisor is, right? I hate the franchisor verbiage. I like we're franchise partners and we're in this together. But I think some private equity goes in thinking the same way. And then others are like, I'm just going to give you money and I expect you to keep doing what you're doing. Like, do it, but just do it better.
Yeah.
And then I'll stay out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, different flavors.
Yeah.
I think the best equity firms out there, though, they hold the franchisor accountable to be better than they were the day before.
Okay.
Right. And so, that looks like different things to different people. It's like sometimes it's very metrics driven, but most of the time it's, hey, how do we improve the system? Because as we improve the system, that's going to drive value for the rest of the organization, including down to the franchisee level.
So what would you tell anyone that's like, hey, I'm looking at franchising. They've looked at all these different brands. They're maybe looking at a parent umbrella type of company that has that backing. Is there one thing that you would tell them to ask in their discovery process when there is a private equity firm involved?
Yeah, well, I would ask kind of like, what's the thesis, right?
Okay.
So in other words, what is the overall plan? Why did you guys go through and make the investment in these individual brands? I would welcome the opportunity if someone were coming through contemplating one of Eversmith's franchises. I want them to ask me the same questions that you guys are asking me. Like, hey, why are you guys trying to acquire additional brands? And lay out that plan, because I think ultimately when you understand what that plan is, then you can get on board with that. You're going to be signing a 10-year franchise agreement, right? You're going to be married to this for a while. So I think you need to know the direction that company is going.
Yeah. That partner, again, all about that partnership back and forth. So,
Yep.
Right.
John, cool. As always, good seeing you. Thanks so much for coming in and joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
John Dobelbower, Eversmith Brands. We will be right back here on the Franchising 360 Show. Thanks again for watching the Franchising 360 Show, brought to you by Fran Coach. Danielle and I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the franchise industry. In between our episodes, if you would like to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coach can help, there are a few places you should check out. First, be sure to listen to the award-winning Franchising 101 podcast. You can find this on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, Fran Coach for You. You can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 Show, plus tons of other content. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out the book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. And finally, when you are ready to take that first personalized step and explore franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow. Until next week, for Danielle Wright, I'm Tim Parmeter. Thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 Show.